Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I really want to do some ink on canvas sheets. So I really love the idea of working on canvas and working like larger scale, but because I work with inks, I know it's not ideal because you've got the porous aspect of the canvas like material. The texture of the canvas also isn't ideal because obviously if I'm using like pens and things, like the bumps and all that jazz, like will just kind of not be great. But I can't get into painting. I've tried, I really can't get into it. So I've kind of like resigned myself to the fact that I will be just working with inks going forward, which is fine, and I love working with inks. But I still like the idea of working on a larger scale. And I could work on bigger pieces of paper, but then you've got the hassle of like trying to store the paper. Obviously it kind of warping or like curling. I don't have necessarily like anywhere to work on it, whereas a canvas, at least I could like kind of stand it up or like lean it against the desk, or I don't know, I feel like I could work around it. So anyway, long story short, I've got some canvas paper that I got. So it's like canvas sheets really that I got when I originally bought a load of oil paints and bits and bobs when I was convinced I was going to get into oil painting, and then quickly realised that I actually hate it. It's not for me. I might go back onto it at some point and play around with it, but I just didn't gel with it at all. But I got these canvas pads, which are really cool. So I'm going to kind of do a bit of an experiment and basically see if I can make it work on the canvas pads, because they're quite smooth. They're not particularly textured. I've got one here. And then they're kind of, I'm going to hopefully progress onto like canvas board and then canvas, like actual, what they're called, the boxed canvases type thing. So yeah, that's the plan anyway. So today, yeah, we're going to basically experiment on this canvas pad and see what it's like. So hopefully it works out. If it's not, we've not lost anything, but I would like to kind of move in that general direction. I'd still work on paper, but I don't know, I've just got like visions of big canvases, and I really like the idea of doing the kind of like ink work that I do on paper on a larger scale, but then also adding some big, almost like acrylic paint, probably textured abstract bits to it as well. So like in my head, for instance, I've got the idea of like, say, a big peacock or something, and it's all like black and white and really detailed and everything, but then in the tail, as it kind of fans out, it gets progressively more like textured and abstract and big like swipes of paint, and I think it would look amazing. I've seen people do it with the kind of paintings that I love with oils, but I just can't get into oils. I just can't. So I'm going to try and see if I can do it with inks, and then so basically working like mixed medium. So it would be a combination of inks, pencils, bits and bobs, and then paint on top, and then probably have to like not varnish, but like spray it so it like fixes it in place, like a fixative or something. So yeah, anyway, so join me for this adventure and we'll see how it goes. Again, it could be terrible. I've no idea. I've never done it before, so but it must work. Surely it works. I've like Googled it, and I've seen some people be like, yeah, you can, but you've got to prime the canvas like loads. It's nice and smooth, and it's not too porous for like the inks just to like soak into the canvas and stuff. So I feel like we can do it. So anyway, this is going to be that little experiment. So yeah, hopefully it works. And yeah, I'm going to show you each of my stages. But yeah, I'm going to get started now, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So this is what we've printed off. So I always say we as though it's like me and all my personalities. But basically we're going for hibiscus flowers. So I've got some reference pictures here, and I'll just kind of like redo a composition. I think I'm going to have it like in portrait though. So I'll just show you. So I've done my general line around the page, is what I usually do. But the main thing is I wanted to show you my new sharpeners because they're the nicest things ever. I found them in a little shop in Hebden Bridge, and oh my god, how cute are they? I'm obsessed with gold, so these were, I was very, very happy when I saw these, and they're so heavy as well, like you can tell they're just really good quality, but like how nice. And I ordered, so I hate anything overly colourful, so I ordered my current sharpener. I don't think I'll be able to get it out, but it's in there. It's like bright pink, so I ordered this black one on Amazon, and then they sent me a bright red one. I was like, well, that's even worse than the pink one. But anyway, so yeah, very happy with my little sharpeners. Just wanted to show you those. So I'm quite unsure with how this bit's going to work. So usually what I would do with paper, which is what I've done. So this is the canvas sheet that we're working on. And usually with paper, I mark out with graphite, which is what I've done, a little bit of a border around, just really lightly, just so I can work to the centre of the page. And I do this with every bit of art that I do. It just keeps me centralised and it stops me going too close to one edge and then not the other, so it just feels like off balance. So we've done that. Now I don't know how and I do that with also the when I like mock up the general composition. So in a minute what I'll do is I'll really loosely like kind of sketch out where I want everything to be and try and get like the composition like very loosely with pencil. Obviously with this being a canvas pad, I don't know how that's going to rub out, because what I would then usually do is go in with an eraser and like rub it all out. So I'm going to do it now and then we'll just see what happens basically. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to smudge a lot. It's an experiment, so we'll just see, I guess. I love how this video was supposed to be like really relaxing ASMR. And I've got like builders outside drilling something on the road. But it's fine. We're just gonna roll with it. So I've got the basic shape kind of penciled in. I think I'm happy with the composition. I'll tweak a couple of little bits, I reckon. I'm just with the pencil now, but then what I'm gonna do in a minute, once I'm happy with the final pencil marks, I'll go over everything with my fine liner and then I'll try and rub it out. So we're going to see how that goes. I need to figure out these the ends to these hibiscus flowers, because they're very unusual flowers. They've kind of got like, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 spokes that kind of come out at the end. And then they've just got these bits that come out with like little, I'm going to be very technical, these little ball bits on. But yeah, so I won't do as many as there actually is, I'll just kind of simplify it a little bit, I think. But these bits kind of, can't believe how loud those guys are outside. I mean, they're just doing their job. Can't complain too much. And it kind of connects here, this kind of long piece. And then, yeah, we've got smaller, like little circle bits. Again, I will simplify it just so it looks better for the drawing. I think that's this thing that you kind of like so when I started drawing, I then moved into tattooing, and then designing for tattooing and drawing for tattooing is so different to how I used to draw. And I think I've just kind of adopted that a little bit, not completely when I'm drawing, but like I'll definitely be mindful of like spacing things out and not overcomplicating things, even though I'm obviously drawing and you don't have to be quite as strict with how you design. But it's just interesting that you do kind of end up adopting those things as you draw as well. I just think it looks better. Well, in my personal opinion, I quite like contrast and quite like stark contrasts in my work. So I want it to look highly detailed, but I don't want it to look too busy. That's the vibe I'm going for. What is shaking? It's really annoying me. It's my gold bloody sharpeners going a bit crazy over there. I'm going to move them so they don't shake as much. You can hear all the dogs kicking off now because of all the drills outside. It's so funny. I don't know whether you guys have like a scrap metal collector, but like the rag and bone man is what we used to call them, and well, still call them. And every time they come around, because they come around every day on this road, I don't know why, we must just have a lot of scrap metal, like from the neighbours and stuff. But they come around every day and it sets all the dogs off because he kind of shouts through, the tannoy thing. And then, yeah, all the dogs on the street start howling. It's actually really funny. You don't realise how many dogs there are actually on the street until they all start setting each other off. I feel like the leaves are quite, I want to say like a generic leaf, but they're kind of a bit spiky and yeah, not too crazy. Quite like these like textured spiky leaves because you can get like a lot of nice like whip shading essentially like from the edges, which is always quite nice. I think what I'll do is something that I do with my tattoos as well. I like to do like a combination of different leaves, and I like to add solid black leaves mixed in with shaded leaves as well. So I think I'm going to do the same on this one. So I just need to choose which ones I want to be solid black, and I also might do them a slightly different shape as well, because I quite like adding a bit of an abstract element in there. I don't want it all to look too, not that it would look like realistic or like realism, because that's not what I do, but I do like to kind of lean into the abstract aspects of it. So just just need to decide. I think I'm going to do that black. And then I might do this one black. I'm trying to keep it balanced, so make that a little bit more curly. Black, black, and then these will be both shaded and detailed. I think when I'm doing, same with tattooing, when I'm doing my drawings, I like to balance the black so it's not like all in one area. You kind of like have it spread out, and then your eye kind of travels across the illustration rather than like all focus and zoning in on one place. So if that's black, then we could do with something around here. Maybe this one down here then. Can do that shaded. Okay, I feel like I'm happy with the general overall composition of it now. So we've got the 2 hibiscus flowers, and then we've got a couple of buds near the top. So yeah, I feel like now we can go in with the fine liner. Well, the fine liner goes on really nicely actually, so far I'm quite pleased with that. So hopefully we don't get too much bleeding with this. It's kind of going to take a minute for everything to like settle in once I've done everything, so we'll just kind of see as we go. But yeah, at the moment I'm getting some quite nice clean lines. Nothing's too, like this texture of the canvas pad isn't causing any issues so far either, so at the moment the main thing I'm worried about is rubbing out the pencil, so we're going to see how that goes, because that could just cause a load of really ugly smudging that we can't get rid of, so we will see about that one. It's just weirdly satisfying going over all the graphite and doing like your definitive line with the fine liner. I don't know what it is, but it's like really satisfying. I'm using the Frisk fine liners today. I've got a couple of those. I've got a few of those to use up basically, so I am working my way through them. They're really nice actually. I'm really fussy with my fine liners. The only note I would have for these, and it is literally the only thing, is the cap doesn't have a clear section. It's like it's just literally like solid black, and the ones that I usually use are the uni pin ones from Uniball, and they do have a little clear section, so it's at a glance you can just see how big the nib is, even though they're all numbered anyway. It's just one of those small little details that, you know, it just makes things super handy. But that is my only note for these Frisk ones, because otherwise they're really smooth. Yeah, I really like them. Just wouldn't mind a little clear cap. Wasn't actually that long ago that I tattooed one of these on a customer of mine. She's getting a full leg sleeve done, and she was actually a competition winner, so I usually every couple of years I'll do a competition where someone wins like a free leg sleeve tattoo. But the kind of thing is they have to be completely open with me doing any kind of botanical and wildlife, so it's just a chance for me to kind of get more of that stuff, basically like a portfolio piece kind of thing. And she won one, and yeah, I think we probably got one session to finish actually. I don't think we completely finished, but anyway, she had lovely hibiscus and dragonfly and all sorts on her leg. It looked great. think the guys outside are doing, they're taking down scaffolding that my neighbour's had on his house. So that's why it's extra loud. I think one of them was actually really hot. I came home the other day and there's a bunch of guys outside, and then one of them who was chatting to my neighbour, I was like, damn. Not to be a perv or anything, but yeah, he was quite nice. And I can say that because I'm single, so, you know, girls can look. I just realised at this angle you can see in this corner where I haven't painted my ceiling yet. So don't judge me. Everywhere in the house is like a half-finished reno project. I'm like currently decorating like everywhere. But yeah, there's like, I think my ADHD is most noticeable with my interiors like projects because it's just like half-finished jobs everywhere. Okay, I've done all the pen on there, so I'm going to rub it out now. This is, I'm not going to film this bit because it'll just shake the table wherever I film it. It'll basically just wobble the camera, so I'm just going to do it and then I will show you the after result. So hopefully it's not too smudged and it looks okay. Alright guys, I'm not being funny, but this motherfucker smudged less than any paper I've ever used. And it's not like, a lot of the times when I rub out the pencil, it'll kind of like fade the pen a little bit, but it's crispy. It's like better than any of the watercolor paper that I've used so far. And the lines are super clean, no smudging from the graphite. Graphite's come off, so I feel like canvas pads, definitely a win. I wouldn't be able to rub out graphite on a stretch canvas, so it might just be bordered stuff, but it's definitely interesting. So yeah, this might be my new favourite way of working. We'll see though, we'll see on the other stages. Okay, so the next thing I would usually do from this stage is to get all my solid black leaves in. So I'm going to do that and then I'm just going to see how the ink goes on with this. So I've got one of my pens. Let's find the right one. Not that one. I'm using the Frisk one again. It's the Frisk brush pen. And it's really nice. It's super saturating. Like that. And yeah, I used it the other day and it was just lovely. So hopefully it goes on just as nice today. Which one do I want to start with? Let's go this one. Oh, look at that. So satisfying. Okay. So it's not bleeding like further onto the canvas from where I put it, so that's good so far. One of the reasons why I love using pens rather than like ink washes. I do use ink washes occasionally. I really dislike having to wash my brushes and put them away and that is, I know that's really lazy, but it's just something that I've never been good at and I always end up ruining my brushes. And so if I can just do it with the pens, oh my god, it just saves me so much faff. Makes my life easier and I'm all about that. I just like the precision of pens as well. But yeah, I know I watch people like use the paintbrushes and stuff and it's so nice to watch. But I don't know, I've got a good thing now with how I use, well, I feel like I've kind of refined my technique with like using a mixture of pens and pencils and then sometimes a bit of acrylic on top as well. So I feel like that kind of works for me with the effect that I like to get. A little bit patchy, but that's fine because I'll go over usually the solid black areas I'll go over anyway with like a lot slightly darker shades and then a bit of highlight too, so it's not just flat black. But yeah, we'll see. But I might just do another layer of that. So a little bit patchier than the paper, but so far that's the only real difference. Okay, so all the black bits are done. It's gone on quite patchy, but that's fine. You can kind of see like that kind of patchy pen look. But we're going to be adding some layers, so that's not a problem. And now we're going to do the grey leaves. So I'm going to use my Pro Marker, my Winsor & Newton Pro Markers, which are all in here. So I think I'm probably going to keep them quite dark still because I want the petals quite light. So I think I might do like a 4 in the grey shades. And I'll add that now and just see how that goes. Hey guys, we're back. It's 2 days later. I was tattooing all day yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to do any artwork. So today I'm going to do more of the greys with the Procreate Winsor & Newton pens. I'm going to get them in now, and then after that it'll be kind of adding, I'll maybe do a bit of dot work on some of the leaves because I like to do that to add like a bit of texture. And then after that it'll be starting all the shading, which is like for me the fun bit. So that's like where you get all the depth and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna get started. And this is the number 4. I think I mentioned earlier, but the number 4 in the grey. And I think it's called the neutral palette, the one that I get, and it's basically gradients of grey up until black, and it's just really nice. But yeah, it's definitely all greys, so not to be mistaken with other, you know, like creamy neutrals. I think you can kind of build this up as well. So if you wanted a slightly darker look, you can kind of add layers too, which is another reason why it's quite nice working on this this canvas pad, because you know you can add a lot more liquid and layers to it. So that's another bonus. But what I'm going to do with these grey leaves in a minute, I'm going to add some dot work to them, and I think I'm going to do that and then we can start shading. But I think I want them to kind of look a little bit like textured, a little bit fuzzy, like a bit like, you know, those nettle leaves that are just a little bit like fuzzy. I think that the dot work just kind of gives it, it's like an abstract way of adding a bit of texture, so I quite like doing that on certain things. So I think I'm going to do that with these leaves. I'll do that now. I think I might stick with the Frisk theme and use one of their pens again. See which number I want to go for. Frisk fine liner, and it's number 2. So I'm going to do that with the dots now. So I'm using one of my brush pens here, This one's actually Unipin, because these ones have, they're not quite, they're quite old, so the ink's kind of ran down a little bit, which is what I want, because I want that kind of dry brush effect. So that's what we're doing here, to add a bit of shading. You can create this effect by using obviously like paintbrushes and dry dipped in ink as well, but I just like using the pens for this. So far, this technique that I use, which I use in pretty much every illustration that I do somewhere on there, has gone on just the same as it has on paper. So as far as working on canvas, it hasn't really made a difference, which is great. So I'm quite excited now about the prospect of working on canvas boards with my inks. So I think after we've done this illustration on this canvas sheet, which looks like it's working quite well so far anyway, I think the next kind of experiment I'm going to do is to buy a bigger boarded canvas. I'll get one that's particularly, like, if I can find one that's like a smoother surface, then I will. So I'll do a bit of research on like the best one. But if I can work on the boarded canvas, then that will be the next stage I'll try out. I love the idea of creating like a really big, like monochrome, black and white and grey art piece on a boarded canvas, and then having it framed in like a really ornate gold, like dark gold gothic frame. I think that would look incredible. So yeah, I'm quite excited about this. My goal is, and it might be an unrealistic goal, but this is what I'm working towards over the next few years, is I'd like to work on a bigger scale, because I'd like to eventually go in galleries. It's been like a lifelong dream of mine to be featured in galleries. When I went into one in Manchester with my brother one time, and we were chatting to the woman who ran the gallery there, and I was talking to her about it, and she was saying, you know, the illustrations are fine, but she was like, realistically, you want to work on a bigger scale. That's kind of what they were looking at. So, and I know people do work smaller scale, but I just think you're more likely to be taken seriously if you've got like big canvases or big framed canvases, that kind of thing. So that is what I'm kind of thinking about working towards. But it has to be, this is why I've kind of messed around with paints and stuff over the last few years, because it has to be something that I still enjoy doing. I just don't enjoy using paints. So for me, it's like, okay, well, how can I adapt what I love doing, which is this kind of stuff, like ink, pens, mixed medium kind of thing. Still enjoy it, but then also work on the larger scale. So anyway, that's why I'm kind of experimenting with this stuff now, because I need to make some moves. I think as well, it's kind of like getting out of your head that the only way that you'll be taken seriously as an artist is to use oils, because, you know, there's a certain amount of prestige and you know, with oil paints. They are basically like top tier art, aren't they? But then there's so many artists, living artists, working artists that use mixed medium. And I think it's just becoming much more acceptable to kind of have this like this different style of art and different way of doing it. And you know, for me, as long as I can get the effect that I want, because again, it is very abstract and I'm not trying to make any kind of realism. So as long as I can get the effect that I'm looking for and it looks like how I want it to look, then that's a win in my book. So I've done the second layer of the solid black, and then I've also gone over all the grey leaves and shaded them with the brush pen. So it's looking much better. So now I'm going to go in, I'll probably do the buds first and get some of the light grey shading in there with just the Pro Mark pens, and then I'll go in with maybe pencils, I'll see. I don't want it to be too dark on the petals, so I'll probably keep it quite light. Sometimes when I do the lighter petals, I'll do like the general shadow with the Winsor & Newton Pro markers, just to give it that like nice soft wash look. And then, because I don't want to go in with the black pen because it's just sometimes a bit too heavy for the petals, so I'll maybe sometimes go in with the pencils, and then just the watercolour Faber and Castell. Let me have a look at the name. Yeah, Faber Castell pencils. I'll do that to kind of like shade it, but then I'll go in with sometimes the lightest of the neutral Pro Mark pens, and it kind of just helps blend them, so it doesn't have that like chalky type pencil look. It'll just be a bit more shaded and like blended, look a bit softer. So I think I'll probably end up doing that, but yeah, we will see. Okay, so I've done all of the light grey with the Pro Marker. So these are on the petals now. So I'm going to go in with the Faber and Castell pencil crayon, and then I'll probably blend it out with another one of the really pale neutral colours from the Pro Marker set. But yeah, kind of got the base of the shading down. So I'm going to go in with my black Faber and Castell pencil crayon. And I think I'm just going to start from the centre because I don't want the black to be from the outside. I like to do the outer shade of the petals in a grey to keep it light, and then I'll do a slightly darker one in the centre and then whip out from there just to keep the depth and the darkest bit in this centre here. And then it kind of progressively gets lighter as we go along. So I'm just going to, not overly darkly, but I'm just going to whip where I want the shading to be. And I'm not going to worry too much at the moment. Again, this is a bit of an experiment because we're working on canvas rather than paper this time. So I'm not going to worry too much about the way it looks, a bit like textured and I don't know how to describe it, like a bit gritty from the pencil. Because what I'm going to do is in a minute I'm going to try and blend this out with the lighter ink wash pen, and hopefully it creates like a soft blend and you don't kind of see that specifically like pencil look to it. This is one of the bits that again I'm quite not worried about, but I think could trip me up with it being on canvas as opposed to paper. So we shall see how it goes. So yeah, I want this centre like in the middle to be like the darkest point. I don't overly hate you can see the lines. I don't know if you can see that on the lines of the pad of the canvas. I think that's actually quite cool, but we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm not pressing too hard with this because I don't want that waxy look, because sometimes when you press too hard with the pencils you get that like waxy look, and I don't really want that. I want it to be quite light because I want to then blend it. So yeah, we're not pressing overly hard. So I'm going to go in now with the lighter, which one do we want? Yeah, so this one is literally like, it's a Pro marker pen, but it's the number 1 in the neutral shade. And again, I keep these until this one might be quite new, yeah, so these, they don't really add any extra colour necessarily, but they do just help blend out the black. So I'm just going to see how this works. It just stops it from looking like pencil, which is what I want. I think that's going on quite nicely. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how that's gone on actually. So it's just taken away that like chalky texture and blended that out. As you can see, you really don't need much of the black pencil because it's actually like gone very dark, which is fine because I wanted that from the centre. But had I have done it on the edges as well, it would have been just way too dark. So what I'll do now is I'll do the edges with the grey and then pretty much do the same thing, and then you will see the difference. So this is the Faber-and-Castell, what colour is it actually? Warm grey this one is, but again I don't use a lot, but I will just basically do the same thing. So from the edges I will go in and I want to like connect the folds as well because I want them to look like it kind of comes down and each fold is like connected. So Don't need to do that with every one, but like this bigger one, for instance, I'll connect that one. So this is the bit that I was kind of more concerned about working on the canvases with, is like the pencil part of, you know, the process that I do. So if we can get this to work well, that's really good. Again, you don't need loads. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing and go in with the number 1 brush pen. I am gonna, not brush pen, sorry, the pro marker. I'm gonna start, because obviously we were just doing the black, so it's probably got a bit of the black on there still. So I'm gonna start on the area that I know is gonna be like the darkest area. So we'll start over here, just in case it's got some of that black pencil still on this section. And I'm gonna blend this bit out. You'll notice as well when you use these pens that they do dry a bit lighter. So they go on and they look quite dark initially, but after a few minutes they do dry a little bit lighter as well. Just be careful you don't kind of go over the edge. Obviously with these pens, you know, the nibs, they're quite thick, and this one in particular is quite soft, so try and not go too close to the edge. Okay, so that, just going to go around that bit again. I feel like that's gone quite nicely, so I'll show you up close. Okay, so this is the result from the petal. So darkest in the centre, and then we're going out, but can you see how that's like blended out that pencil? So it doesn't actually look like pencil anymore. It just gives it that nice washy look. So I'm going to do the rest of the petals. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So this is where we're up to. So I've shaded the bottom flower and we've done all of that. So, and then I've gone in on the black leaves and done some white pencil and then just blended that out. So I've just got the highlights on there. So now I'm just going to go in and do the top flower, but yeah, we're pretty much there. So I'll just get that done now and then I will show you the finished result. I've got too much more now, so I'm just doing the last bits of the shading on the Winsor & Newton Pro Marker. Okay, so we are done. I think the canvas sheet didn't actually make any difference to everything that I did. The only thing that I noticed was that the black that I did, the flat black, was a bit patchier than usual. But as far as everything else is concerned, it literally went on exactly the same way that I would do it on paper. So the next thing I'm going to do is do it maybe on a canvas board, or I've heard of these things that are like, they're like boards, but they kind of have the texture of paper. I can't remember what they were called, but I was looking at them earlier, so that might be something that I do next. But yeah, the goal is to work on a larger scale and then frame it. So yeah, we will try something new in the next video, but thank you for watching and I will see you again in the next one.